Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the final reaction and review of 2013. Wow, guys, we have had one hell of a year here, haven't we? And I believe I have found the perfect movie to end the year on. It is a Japanese movie from 2001 from acclaimed director Takashi Miike. That movie is Visitor Q. Now, I'm going to say this right now. I don't know a whole lot about this movie. The one thing I do know is that a ton of you guys have wanted me to watch this thing for a long time. The only other thing I know is, as I stated earlier, this is from director Takashi Miike. And I've seen two other films from him. Those two were Audition, which was absolutely amazing, and Ichi the Killer, which was certainly, overrated, but is still a fun watch. I have no idea what this thing's about. I have not bothered to read, the back. According to almost every person who has sent me comments, most people say it's fucked up, it's messed up, it's screwed up, and of course then the scant few who apparently love to abuse this word have called it disturbing. Now, I am going to pretend that those people do not fucking exist because they don't know what in the hell disturbing is. I know this from past experience. Now, I don't know if this movie is going to be any good. I'm certainly hoping for it to be good, especially since I know that this director can do good things. But the only way I'm going to find out if this thing's any good is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Visitor Q. Okay, I had no idea that hookers could charge you extra if you blow your load too soon. That's really something I never thought I would ever learn watching a movie, but, well, I just did. Fascinating. Alright, guys. This is very odd. This movie's doing something I didn't think a movie could do. Alright? I totally understand what's going on in the movie. Well, I understand about 99% of what's going on in the movie. Yet I still feel confused and disoriented watching it. I didn't think a movie could make sense, yet still make no sense at all at the same time. That kind of fucking cinematic paradox is just fucking with my head right now. And yet, the movie's still okay. Out of all the things I thought I'd see in this movie, a man getting a microphone jammed up his ass was not one of them. Honest to God, that is just... wow, that was fucked up. But yeah, never thought I would see that, and yet I just did. Alright guys, you want to know something else I never thought I'd see in this movie? A milking scene. Yet that's exactly what I'm seeing here. And yes, it is every bit as fucked up as it sounds. Man, this is just weird, dude. And now we have a self-milking scene, and she's dressed in a garbage bag. Again, it's every bit as weird as I'm making it sound, and that is incredibly odd and rather fucked up. And now we have necrophilia. Interesting. It'd be really nice, guys, if there was some level of context to all this, but there is barely any. But yeah, necrophilia. Again, I was not expecting that. And now we see the problem with fucking a corpse, and that is that rigor mortis can kick in at the worst possible times. Believe it or not, guys, this actually is kind of funny. As fucked up as it is funny as hell. Well, guys, that was Visitor Q. Let me shut that off. Wow, that was different. Let's just stick with different and try to explain why. Okay, so I stated at the very start of this, or like way early in the film, that somehow this movie is, at the same time, able to make almost total sense, yet make no sense at all. And I think that has to do with the writing, the tone, the camera work, just everything leaves you feeling absolutely disoriented. No matter how much you think that you understand what is going on, there's still just this absolute wave of just seeming fucking confusion that just hits the viewer. Probably after like a few more viewings, everything will make total sense and it won't be as, like disorienting. However, I would actually have to want to watch this a second time. I'm going to tell you right now, I really don't. And I do not want people to think that that's me dumping on the film. I will try to explain all of that in just a sec. Why don't we start with the writing? One thing I noticed about this movie is it has a very bad habit of just shifting its tone almost violently. Especially towards the end, when the last, 20 minutes, well, almost the last 20 minutes, minus, the very last, 4 or 5 before the credits. The 20 minutes before that it feels basically like a wacky, screwball, dark comedy, and it is an absolute stark contrast to everything else you see in the film. Because it is within that 20-minute gap that we have milk flying everywhere. We have multiple deaths, necrophilia. We have having to use vinegar in order to get a man's dick out of a corpse after fucking rigor mortis kicks in. We have a son who's basically lying face down in a room that's full of milk that his mother squirted out. It's very weird. And yet it's still kind of funny. And honest to God, I think I would probably have been a little bit happier if the whole movie had stuck to one consistent tone. I think I would have loved it if we had like a 2-hour 90-minute dark, comedy like that from start to finish. Because guys, everything else, we have moments where it feels almost like they are trying to build drama. We have times when it feels like they're trying to build tension. There are moments when they are trying to, at least to me, it almost felt like they were trying to garner sympathy for a couple of these characters. And all of it just feels absolutely disjointed. It feels very schizophrenic as it goes from one tone to the next. Now, mind you, it really isn't a horrible thing, and it doesn't horribly hobble the movie. It's just, again, on that first viewing, you are going to feel absolutely disoriented, if for no other reason than because of the constant shift in tone. Now, I've been talking about the, tone of the, or tones of the film. Still haven't talked about the story, and it's because there's really not a whole lot of story here. Essentially, we have our titular visitor Q. I do not remember him ever being given a name. He just basically kind of moves in with absolutely with no rhyme or reason outside of one character says, well, this right here is my friend. He's going to be staying for a couple of days. And then later on, he says that he's not part of the family. I don't even know who he is. He says that on camera because one of the main characters is basically, I do not know if he's working on a documentary or if he's working on a news piece. It kind of seems to fluctuate based on the subtitles, but it has to do with bullying, and he's basically allowing his son to be the victim of this, and it's very odd. It's a very weird thing, and I guess it's one of those things that's supposed to show that this family is incredibly dysfunctional. And while the son is being bullied at school, he then is taking it out on his mother by violently beating her and covering her in absolute scars and welts and all this other fun shit. Really, guys, the whole plot of the film can be summed up as this family family is incredibly dysfunctional, and no, we're not going to fully explain why. Which is a little bit weird because I've seen a lot of other instances of movies and TV shows where a family has been seen as rather, dysfunctional. There's usually some kind of explanation for it, whether it be that they're poor, or that they are from the backwoods, or that one member of the family is from the backwoods, or they had a horrible home life. Something. There's always some kind of an explanation as to why a dysfunctional family is as messed up as they are. And in this film, you basically are just dumped in, and you're basically told, okay, well, this family are all fucked in the head. Why? Fuck you, that's why. Just fucking roll with it, and that seems to be the, methodology here. I would have loved it if the characters would have gotten a little bit more depth, if I could actually have remembered the names of any of them. In fact, I really don't even think that many of them are even named on camera. I think only about 2 of them are actually given names, and that's a little. I mean, now mind you, I could be totally wrong, and I am just completely forgetting. But I only remember 2 characters' names being mentioned on camera, which, again, that kind of shows you that they couldn't even be asked to name most of these characters. So, and there's also not really a whole lot of depth outside of, well, one of them is working on a news piece or a documentary, and he wants to fuck a corpse at one point. Don't ask; it's a long goddamn story. His wife, his girlfriend, I don't know, is being beaten by her son because her son is the victim of bullying, and she herself is a hooker who wants to who whips a guy with his own belt because he begs her to, and it's all real messed up. And then we have, this visitor comes in, and he's there for reasons nobody really knows why, and nothing here really makes a whole lot of sense if you think about it for too long. That right there, I think, is the big issue when it comes to writing, is that, okay, you watch it, and if you give it a casual watch, the writing is not going to bother you too much. But if you think about it too much, it's going to completely ruin everything which is here. All right? That is a fair warning for you. Now, acting. Acting here is pretty good. I mean, okay, yes, I have seen better acting in Japanese films, but the acting here is still, passable. The acting is still fairly decent. So I am willing to say that here acting is rather good. Mind you, it could have also been a hell of a lot better, but it also could have been a shit ton worse. So I'm not really going to, give them a whole lot of flack for that. Camera work. Once more, guys, we have a little issue of boom mics coming into shot, and it happens quite often. The first time I noticed it was way early in the film, because this movie really has a habit of sticking to shots for a long time. And in one shot we had the boom mic. It just slowly came in. Mind you, it actually came in at around this point on the screen too. It was like just off center. And it was like just there for a sec, and then it would come down a little bit more, and then it would like go back up, and you would almost think that the boom mic operator was good. And then like 45 seconds later, while still on the same shot, by the way, that also would happen, or the dip would just sort of come in. It then dipped down like this, and it was so noticeable. And mind you, I totally understand that. I honestly am kind of looking for these sorts of things while watching the movie, but you honestly would have noticed that one, even guys, if you weren't looking for them. And the boom mic has a bad habit of just basically dipping into shot quite often, especially on wide angle shots. So, that honestly is sort of a problem. However, though, it really is not bad enough to ruin the film, because everything else here, in terms of like blocking and camera movement and everything else, is done very well. And also, you can kind of tell that the whole thing was made using cheaper cameras. In fact, I would almost say that the whole thing is shot on store-bought cameras. It actually is that like level of quality. And mind you, they were able to make this thing work using those. I mean, it looks really good, considering the fact that it's probably an incredibly low-budget film. I don't know what the budget was on Visitor Q right off the top of my head. But everything here looks pretty good, again, as long as the budget was low. Special effects. Special effects is the spot where this movie absolutely shines. Because I mentioned how one of the characters is constantly being beaten on, and she's covered in welts and bruises and scars. and these scars, welts, and bruises look ridiculously realistic, and it looks really, really good. And when you see these scars on her body, I swear to God, I honestly cringed the first time I saw them because they looked that good. And when they would do like close-ups, and you could actually see, especially on the scar she had on her neck, the big cut she had there that was starting to heal, and you could actually see like scabbing and discoloration. It looked really good, guys. The makeup effects in this thing are fantastic. Gore effects, there are very, very few, but hey, you know, again, that is totally fine here. You actually hear, you actually hear, about a whole lot of violent shit going on, and all of it's done like just off camera. But that's totally fine. And again, that also is during that moment when this thing opted to just basically become like a live-action, really bloody, milky Looney Tunes thing. So I'm totally for all of it being done off camera. Well, most of it being done off camera. Special effects here were really good. Sound, now the sound mix here is good. The soundtrack is really only about 4 pieces of music used constantly, and really there is nothing wrong with the music here, and none of it honestly is used too much, so really it's just sort of there. I really can't comment much on music beyond that. So ultimately, guys, when all is said and done, am I able to recommend Visitor Q? Kind of. I genuinely think that this movie is totally worth checking out once. It is. It is absolutely worth giving a single viewing to at the very least. However, I cannot guarantee if you are going to want to watch it a second time afterwards, because I'm going to tell you, this thing here, it was decent, but it really wasn't good enough, I think, for me to really want to go out and watch it a second time. And that is something that I always look for in movies, is I always look for some kind of, I'm looking for some kind of rewatch factor. Now, mind you, a movie can still be incredibly decent and not have any kind of rewatchability to it. And that's totally fine. However, that also means that this thing's probably not going to be sitting on my DVD shelf for any, real lengthy period of time, because I just do not see myself wanting to watch this thing a second time. Now, if you guys can find it on Netflix, or if you can find it anywhere else, by all means, check it out. This thing is absolutely worth seeing at least once. I just can't promise beyond that. Now, Visitor Q came off the Amazon wish list. The person who sent it in is Jordan, and she has one of those new YouTube channels, the ones I keep talking about, the ones that I can't even say the name of here, because most of it is just a string of like bullshit code, because apparently it was too hard for YouTube to just give us all actual channel names, because that made total sense before, so why the hell keep doing it now? I'm going to put a link to Jordan's channel on here. I do know that Jordan doesn't have anything up yet. She does have a whole lot of like playlists and everything, and Jordan, thank you, because I was really curious about checking out this movie, and you gave me the chance to watch it, and it was certainly decent. I actually kind of wish that I would want to watch it a second time, but you know what? It honestly, though, was certainly good enough for one viewing, and that's awesome. Once more, guys, I am going to put a link to Jordan's channel in the description for this video. Please, by all means, go over there and check out everything she has on her various playlists. And according to the note that came with this, Jordan actually is working on a web series where she herself is going to be reviewing movies, and I wish her the absolute best there. I really hope that the series takes off. So yes, guys, once more, Jordan, thank you. And with that, we come to the close of the final reaction and review for 2013. This was one hell of a way, guys, to close out the year. So, yeah, guys, until next year, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.